Welcome back to Klepper's Corner. Today in history. Today we're diving into February 5th, a date that apparently looked at the rest of the calendar and said, no, I'm not just a day, I'm the day. This thing is packed with enough collapses, rebellions, gold nuggets, plastic, and political disasters to make even modern America go, okay, maybe history really does repeat, but at least it has the decency to change the outfits. We've got destroyed empires, accidental nuclear bombs, moon golf, and the world's most gaslit football game. So let's do what historians do best. Pretend we were here first. Segment 1, fire, ash, and congratulations, Rome, it's a boy. Let's start by kicking down the ancient door, because February 5th is apparently when the Mediterranean turned into a WWE pay-per-view. First up, 146 BC, when Rome finally destroyed Carthage in the Third Punic War. This was the culmination of a decades-long rivalry between two great powers, like the Yankees versus Red Sox, except with significantly more enslaved survivors and fewer overpriced hot dogs. Cato the Elder kept ending every speech with, "Carthage must be destroyed." Imagine being that guy at the office who ends every meeting with the same weird catchphrase. Everyone else is talking about the budget, and he's like, yes, but let's circle back to destroying Carthage. And the Romans, being Romans, heard that and said, sure, why not? Set the GPS to total overkill. So Rome storms in, wins, enslaves the survivors, razes the city, and declares itself the big dog of antiquity. And here's the twist. Destroying Carthage actually helped destroy the Republic. Turns out when you win too big, you break the game. Rome was basically speedrunning its own collapse. Then we move forward to 2 BC, when Augustus, already emperor but pretending very hard not to be king, gets awarded the title Pater Patria, or Father of the Fatherland. Congratulations, Rome, it's a boy. And that boy is a man in his 60s who has been quietly reorganizing your government like Marie Kondo with a legion. The Senate gives him this title because by that point, they would have given him anything, as long as he didn't kill them or make them work on weekends. Augustus accepts it with the modesty of a man who definitely planned this all along. And then 62 AD hits Pompeii with a massive earthquake, the kind that says, hey, remember that volcano over there? It's not just a decorative mountain. Pompeii gets wrecked. Buildings crumble, temples crack, and half the wealthy flee. The other half decide to stay because real estate is all about location, 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 even when the location is directly above a geological time bomb. And of course, this is just the pregame show for 79 AD, when Vesuvius goes full pyroclastic Beyonce and gives Pompeii the worst spa treatment in history. February 5th, the date when ancient history said, let's test humanity's warranty. Segment 2, rebellion, martyrdom, and one guy inventing secularism, because Puritans were annoying. Now we slide into February 5th of the medieval and early modern world, where Asia, Europe, and colonial America all seem to collectively go, let's make some decisions we definitely won't regret later. First, 756 AD, and Lushan declares himself emperor, launching the state of Yan right on Chinese New Year. Bold move. That's like announcing you're starting a rival Super Bowl in the parking lot of the real one. The Tang dynasty did not appreciate this. The rebellion becomes one of the deadliest in human history. A reminder that if you're going to rebel, maybe don't do it on a holiday when everyone's already stressed. Jump to 1597 AD, when Japan crucifies 26 Christians in Nagasaki. These martyrs are marched 800 kilometers with their ears cut off, which is honestly the worst parade float idea ever, and killed as an example to others. Instead, the example becomes, you can't stop faith, but you can accidentally invent one of the most resilient underground religions in history. Then, in 1631, Roger Williams arrives in Boston and immediately becomes that guy at the HOA meeting demanding to see the bylaws. He says things like, hey, maybe the government shouldn't control religion. Hey, maybe native people own the land they're on. Boston responds by saying, "Have you considered living literally anywhere else?" So Williams leaves, starts Rhode Island, invents religious liberty, and basically becomes the founding father of I'm not owned energy. February 5th, come for the rebellion, stay for the birth of separation of church and state. Segment 3, gold nuggets, art museums, and a French marshal accidentally becoming Scandinavian. Now we roll into the 18th and 19th centuries, when February 5th becomes obsessed with nation building, infrastructure, and making sure Europe stays just weird enough. First, we have 1783 and the Calabria earthquakes. Not just one, 5 massive quakes over 2 months. Italy looks at its geological situation and says, "Is this about the pizza? It's about the pizza, isn't it?" But from this destruction comes something new. Modern seismology. Scientists study the devastation, sketch diagrams, build new earthquake-proof designs. This is the moment humans go, "Okay, Earth, we get it, you're mad, but we're taking notes." Then, 1818, Jean-Baptiste Bernadotte, a Frenchman who served under Napoleon, becomes king of Sweden and Norway. That's right. A random French marshal gets adopted by Scandinavia like a rescue pet and then rules for decades. He even opposes Napoleon, meaning he's the only Napoleonic marshal who basically turned his LinkedIn profile into a monarchy. His dynasty still rules Sweden today. Imagine being a modern Swede and realizing your king's great-great-great-granddad was basically Napoleon's co-worker of the month. Next, 1852. The new Hermitage Museum opens in St. Petersburg. Russia decides art should be public, which is a huge step. Up until then, museums were basically rich people showing off what they stole from each other. Then, 1869, Australia gives us the Welcome Stranger, the biggest alluvial gold nugget ever found. This thing was so huge, miners had to break it on an anvil just to weigh it. The nugget probably screamed, "Ow, rude!" But no one listened, because when there's gold involved, humanity's empathy levels drop to 0. February 5th, come for the earthquakes, stay for the French guy who becomes Swedish by accident. Segment 4, Bakelite, revolutions on paper, and Hollywood saying, "We're unionizing, but sexy." Now we enter the early 20th century, where science, revolution, and celebrity drama all meet like a very chaotic group project. First up, 1909. Leo Baekeland invents Bakelite, the world's first fully synthetic plastic. This is the moment Earth screams, "Don't do it." And humanity says, "Too late. We're putting this stuff on everything." Phones, radios, cars. Bakelite is the start of the modern industrial world. Also the start of every landfill's eternal grudge. Then, in 1917, Mexico signs a new constitution that basically says workers deserve rights. Land isn't just for the rich. Education should be secular and free. It's the first social constitution in the world, a legal revolution written in ink instead of gunpowder. Every modern labor law owes a little something to February 5th, 1917. It's like the Workers' Bill of Rights, but with more sombreros. And then, in 1919, 4 Hollywood legends, Chaplin, Pickford, Fairbanks, and Griffith, form United Artists, which is the historical equivalent of actors saying, "We're starting our own studio with blackjack and artistic freedom." The studio bosses call them lunatics. Hollywood calls them pioneers. And modern actors call them the reason we now have indie films about sad men staring out rainy windows contemplating taxidermy. Bless their hearts. February 5th, where revolutions are forged, movies go independent, and plastic begins its campaign to cover planet Earth like shrink wrap. Segment 5, Moon Golf, WMD PowerPoints, a football miracle, and the trial that was basically a Yelp review. Now we hit the modern world. February 5th, showing off like it's auditioning for a Netflix docuseries. First, 1971, Apollo 14 lands on the moon. Alan Shepard, a man who looked at the lunar surface and said, "You know what this needs? A par 3. Pulls out a makeshift golf club and hits a ball miles and miles. NASA claims it didn't actually go miles, but come on, let the man have his moment. Meanwhile, Stuart Russo orbits the moon with a bag full of tree seeds because science is sometimes just, let's see what happens. Then, 2003, Colin Powell delivers the UN speech arguing that Iraq has WMDs. He holds up a tiny vial like he's in a late-night infomercial selling anthrax starter kits. It becomes one of the most infamous moments in American diplomacy. The PowerPoint that launched a war and the regret that followed Powell for the rest of his life. Next, 2017, Super Bowl 51. The Patriots are down 28-3. America goes to refill its nachos because the game is obviously over. And then Tom Brady emerges like a football lich king, resurrected to torment Atlanta. It becomes the biggest comeback in Super Bowl history. The Falcons never emotionally recovered. Honestly, neither did we. Finally, 2020. Trump is acquitted in his first impeachment trial. February 5th, where the moon gets golfing lessons, the UN gets a slideshow of doom, football gets a miracle, and democracy gets a participation trophy. In conclusion, February 5th is a day that refuses to pick a lane. It destroys empires, launches rebellions, births constitutions, invents plastic, opens museums, drops nuclear bombs into the ocean by accident, and hosts football comebacks that violate several natural laws. It reminds us that history isn't a straight line. It's a chaotic group chat where every century tries to one-up the last. And February 5th is the guy in the chat who keeps sending all caps messages at 3 a.m. So until next time, keep questioning, keep laughing, and keep remembering. If history teaches us anything, it's that humanity has always been this messy. We've just gotten better at filming it.